Are options right for you? Maybe they are. I don't know, maybe they aren't. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm Justin. I like to talk about dividend investing, income from options, financial independence, and anything else to do with money. So if you like money, you should invest in my channel. I'd really appreciate that a lot, and maybe give me a little thumbs up. I'd appreciate that a lot too. Options are derivatives, and that's just a big scary word. Means that they derive their price from an underlying security, and that's where they get their value. So you have two kinds of options. You have call options and put options. A call option, that price, the price of the call option will go up if the stock price goes up. But the stock price goes down, the call option's price will go down. And it's reversed with a put option. A put option's price will go up if the stock price goes down. And if stock price goes up, the put option goes down in value. A good way to think of options is like insurance. So you have buyers of insurance and sellers of insurance. And the call option, you have someone that sells the promise to sell shares at the strike price if the price goes way up here. And the buyer buys the promise to buy the shares if the stock goes way up here. And then you have the put option. They will sell the promise to buy shares up here if the price goes down. And the buyer wants to make sure that if the stock price drops a bunch, they're not going to lose a whole bunch of money. Now, between puts and calls and buyers and sellers, there's a lot of different options on how to make money with the stock market. So if the stock price you think is going to go up, you can sell a put or you can buy a call. And if you think the stock price is going to go down, you can sell a call or buy a put. And then if you think it's going to go sideways, you can kind of do both of them or either one or different variations if it's going to go in or out of some range. And options don't last forever. They have an expiration date. It's usually the third Friday of every month, but some of them, they expire on every Friday. They have weekly options, and every week you can do this. But usually, for sure, it is the third Friday of every month. And there's a strike price, so it has to cross a certain price above or below to, make that insurance valid, where you can cash in that insurance. The benefit of selling options is that you get money up front that you can keep, and hopefully that strike price does not get hit, so you stay out of the money and you don't have to fork over any money, and you just keep your premium and the option expires worthless. But the downside of that is that you may have to, if you sell the put, you have to buy the shares, and then if you sell the call, you have to sell the shares to the call buyer. A big benefit of options is the leverage, and every contract controls 100 shares. So right now, Apple's trading at about $133. If you wanted to buy 100 shares of Apple, it would cost you $13,300. But right now, you could buy a call option on Apple that expires in 7 weeks with a strike price of $130. That means it's in the money, and you are not going to lose any money you're not going to lose all your money if that stock price drops below $130. But if it goes above $130, you get exposure to a lot of that price appreciation, and your $700 is going to multiply depending on how far the stock appreciates. You can also use the leverage on put options, where if you wanted to make a promise to buy 100 shares if the price drops below $100, you'd think you need $10,000 set aside to make that purchase, but your brokerage will give you leverage and it will only cost you $2,000. They usually will give you like a 20% or I guess it'd be 80% leverage, like 5 to 1. So you'd only need 20% of the money set aside to buy those, to sell the contract. And then, you get a much bigger return on your leverage because you're doing it with 20% of the money instead of that full $10,000. But the downside of that is if those contracts do go in the money, you're going to need to find that extra $8,000 to fork over to buy those 100 shares to make the other party whole. People love the idea of options, but you really probably don't need to get involved in options. If you still have decades away from retirement and you don't need the income right now, you probably don't have any real need to be buying or selling options. They're great for creating double-digit yield and big income streams, but you don't need that right now, and you still have decades for your wealth to compound in something like the S&P 500. The S&P 500 returns like 8 to 12% a year on average, depending on when you start the timer, and the average investor doesn't beat that over the long term or long time. So it doesn't make too much sense for you to be selling and buying option contracts when you're still like 20 or 30 years from retirement. If you do need the income relative, like now, maybe it is a great idea to be selling options on safe stocks that, reliable companies that are profitable with reasonable returns and reasonable premium. Another thing is, you probably need some money set aside to do this. I think a good number is about $25,000. Because every contract is 100 shares, you're kind of limited to what contracts you can sell on. Like, if you have $25,000, you can do 5 different contracts on different companies with up to a strike price of $50 each. That means each position is about $5,000 of risk for selling puts. And if you have less than that, you're restricted to, lower priced companies, and a lot of them can be less reputable, less profitable, and there's a lot of quality companies that you're not going to be you're not going to be able to sell contracts on. Another thing you need to be aware of, if you do have, say $10,000 and you get reasonable returns and you outperform the S&P 500 and say you get 20% in a year, you make $2,000 a year from, whatever strategy you want to do. But say the S&P 500 does 17% a year, which you might outperform more than that, you might not. And so that 3% difference between your performance in the S&P 500 is only $25 a month, and it's not that much. And your time would be better spent, building your skills at work and advancing and building your career, promotions, or starting some other active income thing. Even delivering pizza or driving for Uber or something like that that'll increase your income so you have more money to invest. Another thing you're going to need to do is avoid all the hype that you see on YouTube. There's so many videos on YouTube about, this option strategy turns $100 into $1,000, or I made $558 this week in options doing this, and all this kind of stuff. It can be really tempting to get into more riskier option plays and then sell options or buy options on hype, like this AMC thing that's going on, or GameStop. There was all the EV stuff. There was Nikola, that turned out to be, a crap company. There was Workhorse that ended up losing some sort of contract, and that price fell. And then there was Lordstone Motors, their stock price fell a whole bunch. So there's a lot of hype, and you're gonna need to avoid that. These hype stocks and these meme stocks, these ain't good long-term ways to build your wealth with options. They're really not. I don't think they're a good way to build your wealth, or I don't think they're a good way to invest at all. But I'll say it again now. I think if you have a couple decades before retirement, maybe it's probably just best to invest in the S&P 500. I know I don't, but I probably should. I probably have a little more money, but I do enjoy investing in options, and I do try to reduce my risk by selling monthly contracts on good companies, and I avoid meme stocks. I don't buy options because I think those will mostly expire worthless, and that's more of an all or nothing bet when you buy options. But I do like dividends and selling options for the income. I do enjoy that, and I think that's kind of how I identify myself as an investor, as an income investor. But I think that's all I got for this video. Go ahead and give me a like if you're still here watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And I want you to go have a good day, alright? Justin out.